Hello. Welcome to this WorldSkills UK Skill With Me Masterclass in Visual Merchandising. I'm Julianne Lavery. I'm the WorldSkills Training Manager in Visual Merchandising. I help train young people in the WorldSkills competition, also known as the Skills Olympics, to achieve and enhance their skills capacity, but also compete in an international arena. It helps raise their confidence and it helps enhance the UK skills in today's industry as well. In this masterclass, we're going to look at creating visual balance. And there are some techniques that are involved in creating visual balance. So we're going to look at the idea of utilizing symmetry and asymmetry. And there are technical skills which are often underlooked or not taught other than theory in design education. So the area that we're going to look at today in the masterclass does apply to, yes, visual merchandising and display and presentation of products in a retail sector, but also it can be applied to other design areas such as graphic design, CAD design, etc. The idea that of using and understanding visual balance, what we're going to try and look at is the difference between what is a competent and visually interesting display, but maybe not an excellent display, and understanding how to gain that ability to add visual balance to a display so it becomes an excellent and effective display. In competition, the idea of using visual balance is put into the criteria of implementation, which is one of the largest sectors to achieve marks from. And implementation is how the display or the overall visual display looks at the end after the completion of the design and the implementation of the product and the props together. Now, visual balance, it contributes to nearly 20% of the marks for this. So understanding this technical skill is really important, and not just for competition, but also in real life in terms of careers and in the retail sector, of how to create an effective display that's visually balanced so it attracts the customer and ultimately sells the product. Hello everybody, we're going to try and create a lifestyle display using a section of products that you can see in front of you. These are general dining products, from glasses to bowls to plates to vases, and we have a few little additional accessories. The products themselves, or this particular exercise and training, is not so important as more so the importance is in the composition and the technique that we're using, which is creating a visually balanced display. So the first display we're going to try and do, and the first composition we're going to try and do, is to create a symmetrical display. So that means that the object in the center becomes the axis, and that usually is the taller object. And then the objects or the products on either side of it are placed that they're repeated and they mirror image on either side. So there's an equal balance on either side. Then we're going to kind of look at how we place the product within the given display and composition to help create the structure, but also to create the visual balance we're talking about. So that involves the things of the proportions of the product, the space in between the product, and the use of the repetition or the mirroring on either side. So just to reiterate, what we're doing is creating a triangle. So starting with larger at the top and grading down on either side. And we'll keep this very simple for this exercise, but just so you can see how the balance kind of unfolds as we go along. So if we leave our vase, our larger vase in the center, what we'll try and do is build up around it. In any retail display, obviously the product is the most important thing that you're trying to sell and display, and how you display the style of how you display the product is variable depending on which brand and what their aesthetic is. And sometimes that's more formal, sometimes it's more informal. In this case, if we're using a symmetrical or a formal balance of a composition, then we want to maybe keep the actual display or the styling of the products fairly formal as well. So in this case, I'm not going to add too much sort of crazy twists or unusual style into this. I'm going to let the product speak for itself, but add a little bit of innovation and creativity as we go along. So let's get started. We have the plates. Got these lovely golden plates. I'm going to just put my simple bowl on top, and the plates are going to be just slightly behind. So we've got the background, we've got the middle ground, and we've got the foreground. So in an in-store display, you need to make use of all the planes of space, and sometimes you may have a hanging object as well, or a prop coming down, our signage. So let's just take that out for the minute, and let's start building it the same on either side. So let's put another plate down, and we'll put the other bowl on top of the plate. Excuse me for the clattering. And what you can see already is we have equal on both sides. Hopefully the camera is showing that equal. What we tend to do, the way I was taught when I was trained, starting with lifestyle and interiors for visual merchandising, is about spacing between the product. If you want to create that perfect mathematical balance, you can use your fingers in 1 finger or 2 finger widths apart. And what you want to make sure is that the negative space isn't larger than the product itself. Otherwise, your eye will be drawn to the background of the negative space rather than the product. The product should always be hero. The product should be the first point of attention and the focal point of the display. Let's just start building up. I'll speed up a little bit. Let's create, this is what I call, the technique is called stacking and piling. What we're now going to try and do is use the same component elements of products, and we're going to create an asymmetric display, but also using the same techniques of creating visual balance. So in this case, for asymmetry, we don't have to have pure mathematical balance, or we don't have to have equal proportions or equal products on the same side. So what we're going to do is experiment with the products to create a display that is technically more informal, or it is more off center. So we'll still use our vase as an anchor point, and we will build up a display from that. And this is what makes the difference from having just a collection of objects that are randomly placed. If you add structure and this balance into a display, it makes the overall composition a lot more effective and comprehensive, and also a lot more aesthetically pleasing for the customer or for the viewer. So we've taken all the elements out. What I'm going to do essentially is not have my vase right in the center. I'm going to put that off center, and I'm going to try and do a classic asymmetry where I'm still using that form of the triangle, but I'm going to have it grading down. So we're going to try and create almost like a 90-degree triangle. We may put another object in here to balance it off. So you can see that asymmetry also works to create a balanced display. So what we have here is a classic asymmetry. We still have a larger item at the center, and then we have that grading down. We've got slightly more movement, so it's slightly more informal. We still have clusters and groups of the product together, and then you can see that the spoons are just creating and stretching out that composition, sort of bringing it out to the sides. And overall, you've still got a balanced display in an asymmetric composition format. Thank you for attending the WorldSkills UK Visual Merchandising Masterclass today. WorldSkills UK are an organisation that are there to help support and further vocational, technical and professional skills in the FE sector. We're also there to enable and support young learners to not only advance their ability on their skills, but also gain confidence in that journey of learning. We hope that young learners can then achieve not only just levels of competency, but levels of excellence. Please do watch our other videos, which can be found at worldskillsuk.org. Thank you.